All right, guys. Big news happened this week. Conor McGregor meets with the UFC brass, and he's very happy with the direction. Ariel Helwani says that Conor McGregor's looking to fight on International Fight Week, July 11th, unless something disastrous happens. Max Holloway could be the fight, right? Max Holloway wants this fight. Max Holloway went on an interview and says, Conor got one over on me. He's talking about coming back. I'm coming off a loss. If he doesn't want to cut weight, then I don't want to cut weight. We can do it at any weight. It's just about getting it back. If you're Conor McGregor, do not do this fight. I'm telling you right now. But before I talk about Conor McGregor, please like and subscribe. That would help. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. That would help me a lot. Max Holloway, I'm sorry. Do not, if you're Conor McGregor, do not do this fight. Max Holloway, kick rocks. Kick rocks. I don't care. You had a very, very bad fight. You had a very bad fight. That fight does not linger on. Let's go fight a Conor McGregor sweepstate. It's not red penny night for you anymore. You cannot do that because Conor McGregor is a big, big name. You can't build Max Holloway anymore. Max Holloway's built, right? People know how good Max Holloway is, right? He's very good, but not good enough to be world champion anymore. That's how good we know about Max Holloway. Can he beat Ilia Topuria? No. Can he beat Charles Oliveira? No. Could he beat Arman Sarukian? Most likely no. So we know where he stands as a fighter in the lightweight division, right? Can featherweight? Can he can't beat Volk? Can he beat Can he beat a Movzar? Movzar is really good wrestling. Can he take down Max Holloway the way that Charles Oliveira took him down, right? Gene Silva is a problem. So there's guys that Max Holloway is just not as good as. And Conor McGregor, that's the problem with Conor McGregor. You cannot give him some guy that you can't build up towards, right? You need to have someone to piggyback off his name, like Dustin Poirier, like Dustin Poirier 5 years ago, like Khabib. You need Nate Diaz, someone to piggyback off his name. And these are opponents that I think he should be fighting, right? Paddy Pimblett. This makes a lot of sense to me. Paddy Pimblett coming off a loss. I know what you're going to say. Max Holloway's coming off a loss. Paddy Pimblett's coming off a loss. At least he lost to Charles Oliveira, not Justin Gaethje. I understand, but Paddy Pimblett's only like 29 years old, 28 years old, whatever Paddy Pimblett is. He's still young in the fight game. He's still fresh. Max Holloway has freaking cobwebs on him. He's been in the UFC for too long that we just know who he is. Paddy Pimblett's just getting better and better every single time he steps into the octagon, and he's big. He's a big star with very, very good charisma. He's funny. He's a funny guy. He has good skills on the ground. His striking is a little bit better, but he has good timing. Paddy Pimblett is a star that can be a mega star if he does it correctly. And fighting Conor McGregor, building back up, and fighting Conor McGregor will help Paddy Pimblett. And on the plus side, Paddy Pimblett, if Conor McGregor beats Paddy Pimblett, people will be like, okay, Conor McGregor, that's a really good win. You've just fought some guy that fought for the interim lightweight championship. You're still in the mix after 4 years. You're still that dude, or 5 years now. You're still that guy that could be a contender, because we saw Paddy Pimblett, what he did to Michael Chandler. We saw him in a not really a close fight, but a competitive fight versus Justin Gaethje. So we know how it is with Paddy Pimblett and Conor McGregor. If you're beating Paddy Pimblett, we can now say, hey, like, you can bypass a lot of these guys, go for a title shot, and we won't be that mad, right? Mauricio Hoofi, they talked about this fight. They talked about Protest, his former Fighting Nerds companion, right? Because Hoofi left. He went to go train with Volk. And Carlos Prada said yes. Conor McGregor said yes, but the UFC had different plans. Okay. And then now Protest is fighting JDM in Perth. And Mauricio Hoofi, who just beat Rafael Fiziev, who is he going to fight? Mauricio Hoofi is a very, very entertaining style, right? He's a sniper. He just like Conor McGregor, maybe not as powerful with the hands, but he fights just like Conor McGregor. The karate stance, the floats, the darts, the timing, the counter punching. It's almost to a T, but he's orthodox and Conor McGregor southpaw. It's almost to a T, though. It's a mirror image. And that'll be a great stylistic matchup, especially now that Conor McGregor is more foot heavy, not as springy as he used to be. And he's like 36 years old, but he used to be a very springy fighter where he's bouncing in and out. And then now you obviously saw that boxing stance he did with Dustin Poirier too. That'll be a very good style matchup for both these guys. Mauricio Hoofi can build off of Conor McGregor's name with a win like that. He can become a big star, especially he has the highlight package to go with it, right? The spinning wheel kick against Bobby Green. The two right down the middle versus Rafael Fiziev. Even though he lost to Benoit Saint Denis, it's a very he can bounce back because this is a striking matchup, and Conor McGregor is a big name, and Mauricio Hoofi's still young in his MMA career. Next, Benoit Saint Denis, the guy that beat Mauricio Hoofi. Benoit Saint Denis, he's a very entertaining fighter. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. This guy is a BMF, former SEAL, French SEALs, whatever they call themselves over there. He is a bad mother effer, and he brings violence, but he can't strike. And that's very good for Conor McGregor. You beat a guy like Benoit Saint Denis. Look what happened to Benoit Saint Denis when he fought Dustin Poirier. Everybody's like, Benoit Saint Denis is going to beat Dustin Poirier. Benoit Saint Denis is going to murder Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier ended up KOing him stiff and got a title shot after that. Benoit Saint Denis, he brings the fire. He brings a very entertaining style. What he did to Dan Hooker was very impressive after looking shaky in the first round, but dominating the rest of that last minute and a half of the first round, and then the second round, getting the finish over him there. Benoit Saint Denis will be a very entertaining opponent, and he's on a win streak right now. He beat Beneil Dariush. He beat a lot of guys that Prepolek. He beat a lot of guys recently, Mauricio Hufi, to warrant this fight against Conor McGregor because it's a big name. Conor McGregor can build off him. And France needs a big star, right? Cyril Gane, they're trying to make that big star. He has like 5 title fights already. Let's make Benoit Saint Denis the big star. If he beats Conor McGregor, he'll be huge. The UFC is trying to burst that bubble, right? Pop that cherry of the French crowd. They have an amazing crowd over there. If you watch WWE, their crowd is amazing. If you watch MMA, their crowd is amazing. So they get very, very active about the fighters, and they care so much. So Benoit Saint Denis, if he beats Conor McGregor, will be a big, big star over there. Dana White does press conference every single question, at least once a month. When is Benoit Saint Denis fighting? When is Benoit Saint Denis fighting? That's what happens. Next, Max Holloway. Already talked about it. Don't fight him. Don't fight him. Why? You already showed that you're better than him. Don't fight somebody. I know it was a long time ago. Who cares? No one's gonna remember that in 10 years. No one's gonna remember that. You already beat Max Holloway. You already beat Dustin Poirier. Then you rematch versus Dustin Poirier. Now people think Dustin Poirier is better than you. That's the problem. And what are you going to do? Beat him better? Are you going to TKO him? Are you going to KO him? We saw what Charles Oliveira did to him. We saw what Ilya Topuria did to them. You're just going to draw comparisons about the loss, the wins that they had over Max Holloway. That's all you're going to do, Conor McGregor. That makes no sense to me. Don't do it. Charles Oliveira, I mean, he's boring now. I don't understand. This guy gets KO'd by Ilya Topuria. Now you're a wrestler now? Like, what are we doing? I know Charles Oliveira, it's MMA. I get it. But this is for the BMF title. If you're going to do shit like that, don't fight for it. Conor McGregor, don't fight Charles Oliveira. You're obviously going to do better than Max Holloway did on the takedown defense because you have better takedown defense than Max Holloway. But Charles Oliveira is going to lay and pray, right, the whole time on his back. Probably, honestly, I can see him slide into mount and then probably get a finish over Conor. But again, I don't know if I like that matchup for him. I don't think it's fair. Next, we have Ian Gary. Ian Gary, this is the matchup that they wanted to have. They wanted Ian Gary to Dana White was asked about the Dublin card. Are they ever going to go back to Dublin? Is Conor McGregor going to fight in Dublin? And then he goes, is Ian Gary going to fight in Dublin? And Dana White responded, no, there's no fights in Dublin coming soon. Conor McGregor, the McGregor Gary fight won't happen in Dublin. And we're like, what? They're fighting each other? So that's a possibility now? That makes no sense. So that's what Dana White said. I don't like that fight though, because he's just too big. He's 6'3", Conor McGregor's 5'9". We saw the sparring, how small Conor McGregor is towards him compared to him. I don't want to do that matchup at all. Ian Gary's too much in his prime, and he's a very good fighter, and especially being bigger, that does not help either. If I would rank these matchups, I would do 1, Benoit Saint Denis, 2, Paddy Pimblett, 3, Rousey, 4, I would do Charles, 5, I would do Max, 6, I would do Ian Gary. That makes a lot of sense to me, right? There's a lot of beef. Next segment, there's a lot of beef at the 145, right? At 145, there's a lot of beef after that Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy fight that happened at UFC London, where Movsar Evloev won a majority decision, where a lot of people thought it was a draw. I thought it was a draw against Lerone Murphy. I thought that Movsar Evloev won round 1, round 4, and round 5, while Lerone Murphy took the second and the third. But Alexander Volkanovski wants to fight. Movsar Evloev next. Yeah, he said it. And Gene Silva has already been rumored to be fighting Alexander Volkanovski, and Volkanovski is really pushing hard for Movsar Evloev. Movsar Evloev is the number 1 contender for a long time. There's no point on fighting Gene Silva. This is what Volkanovski is saying. I'm paraphrasing for you guys. Gene Silva, there's no fighting Gene Silva. If Gene Silva wins, if Gene Silva loses a fight against me and then loses to Lerone Murphy's, right, because he's not battle tested. He's losing to Movsar Evloev. He's losing to the Aljamain Sterlings. What are they going to say? Why did he get that title fight? The same way Darren Till. People say Darren Till got a title fight. What the hell? But remember when Tyron Woodley fought Darren Till and he bypassed a lot of people because he had a controversial decision over Wonderboy Thompson, where I thought Wonderboy won 4 out of 5 rounds, and they end up giving the fight 3-2 to Darren Till. But he didn't fight any contenders. It was only Cowboy Cerrone, and it was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And then after losing to Tyron Woodley, he loses to Jorge Masvidal. He loses to Dricus du Plessis. He loses to Derek Brunson. He had a lot of losses on his way out of the UFC, and people are wondering, why did Darren Till fight for a title? So that's probably what Volkanovski is saying. Why would I fight Gene Silva? And that's the thing I say about Michael Morales and Islam. I'm like, Islam, why would Islam fight Michael Morales? If you beat Michael Morales, you should have beat Michael Morales. And then Michael Morales might lose. He's not proven. That's why I said rather fight Kamaru Usman, build legacy at least, right? But whatever. Going back to the featherweight division, Diego Lopez says, no, Lerone, we're not the same. Never do that again. Talking about his fight with Movsar Evloev. Lerone Murphy responds, I didn't lay on my back in guard for 3 rounds, bro. Let's fight next. I don't think this should be the fight that's going to happen next, right? There's a lot of things heating up at the featherweight division with a lot of no-name guys, right? Let's be honest. Diego Lopez is a no-name guy. Lerone Murphy's a no-name guy. Movsar Evloev is a no-name guy. Aljamain Sterling, no one cares if he fights. This division needs spice in it, right? It needs spice in it. And Lerone Murphy versus Diego Lopez, I don't like it. I think Diego Lopez should be fighting Yair Rodriguez, and I think Lerone Murphy should fight the winner of Aljamain Sterling versus Yusuf Zalal that's coming up soon. That makes a lot more sense to me because Diego Lopez's trajectory right now is he's not fighting for a title for a long time, right? Especially Volkanovski's champion. You're not fighting for the title for at least a year and a half, 2 years, okay? And Lerone Murphy, one more win, right? One more win versus Yusuf Zalal, one more win versus Aljamain Sterling. He's right back in the mix. That's just the truth. So the featherweight division needs to be spiced up, right? You see Arman Sarukian talking about it. Arman Sarukian goes, hey, UFC fans, is it time for me to save the featherweight division? Arman Sarukian, you can't even make 155. You bowed out of your fight at Intuit Dome in Los Angeles 2 years ago against Islam. And now you're saying, let's go fight, or last year against Islam. You want to go fight at featherweight? You can't make it. You have to cut off a leg, probably a nut, probably cut your hair as well. You won't make it there. Come on. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. He's probably trolling, but whatever. Now, Aljamain Sterling responds to Movsar Evloev trolling Aljo. So masterclass of him beating Aljamain Sterling. And then Aljamain Sterling responds going, hey, now this is loser energy. Me along with many people that thought your last fight was a draw, thought you had lost to Allen, and thought you lost to me. Masterclass, get the fuck out. No one actually thinks Sterling won that fight, and nobody thinks Arnold Allen won that fight. Arnold Allen fight was closer to 3-0 than 2-1 Arnold Allen. I promise you that, right? You could not have scored 2 rounds for Arnold Allen, and Aljamain Sterling, you had a great first round, lost the second round, and definitely lost the third round because you were on top of him for a minute and a half doing no damage. The Movsar Evloev sweeps you, takes your back, finish, and then has a nasty ground and pound on you. How did you win that third round? Stop it. But that fight should happen next. Aljamain Sterling versus Lerone Murphy. If Aljamain Sterling passes Yusuf Zalal, again, that's like the handyman, boring 4 fighters, right? No one cares about Lerone Murphy. No one cares about Aljamain Sterling. No one cares about Movsar Evloev. Nobody cares about Yusuf Zalal. So that's just the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Let's move on to something exciting, right? MVP Promotions announced their full card that's happening at the Intuit Dome. And if you guys wonder the big news about it, Chris Avila's on the card. This guy just shows up randomly everywhere. Chris Avila, Nate Diaz's boy. Yeah, give me $10 million, but my boy Chris Avila has to fight on the card. I don't give a fuck. That's probably Nate Diaz's conversation, right? His agent's conversation about Chris Avila being on there. Joe Rogan has heard that Nate Diaz is making more than $10 million to fight Mike Perry on the MVP Netflix card. Cool. This is very good for MMA because UFC right now is a monopoly. They own everything, right? You need to have the NBA has the EuroLeague, NBA has the NBL in Australia, right? The NFL they don't have a secondary opponent besides Canadian Football League, which is not really a secondary tertiary opponent. Maybe they're like a D League opponent, and they have the UFL as well as like a D League opponent. But again, they need to have promotions MMA, and Bellator tried to do it, they couldn't. Strikeforce tried to do it, they couldn't. Pride tried to do it, they couldn't. Right? Because UFC, they build it correctly. Because they have a great marketing team. They don't pay their fighters a lot, but they build it back into business, getting PIs everywhere. And MVP are doing it the boxing way, right? Just pay these guys a lot of money, going out of business sale, and we'll make a little bit of money on the card. And that's how they're doing it. Instead of UFC, like, hey, we could put on these shittier fights for you guys and pay these guys 12 and 12, and we can build PIs, market better. We can do a lot of things better for the UFC and build the brand of the UFC instead of building the brand of fighters. That's the different market between the UFC and in boxing. So and now MVP is using that boxing type of using that top box type of structure to have their fights. So quick fights. Okay, Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. Obviously, that's a good fight. Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano. Okay, great. Felipe Lins versus Francis Ngannou. Cool. I'm cool with those fights. Okay. Then you have Junior Dos Santos versus Despaigne. Wrong, 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 stupid, dumb. No, no, no. You know why? They look good. They're gonna be like, I want to fight Francis Ngannou next. Those are UFC flameouts. Despaigne couldn't beat Waldo Cortez Acosta. He was losing to some other scrub he lost to. And then Junior Dos Santos, he's old, right? He's old. We saw him lose to like Yordel Del Castro in the Eagle FC. You saw him lose in the UFC for like 6 straight fights. He's a flameout. Then you're gonna have him fight Francis Ngannou for like the MVP heavyweight title next. Stop. That's bad. You don't want to do something like that. You need to get guys like Mokaev versus Moraes. That's a good fight because Mokaev, he is not a UFC flameout. His contract expired. The UFC didn't want to resign him because he said he's a headache. He's a top 5 flyweight in the world. Lorenz Larkin versus Jason Jackson, 2 Bellator guys. Cool, whatever. All right, that's not that big of a deal. But again, they should not be signing flameout UFC guys. Flameout UFC guys are really bad to have. You can build from people like from one championship that aren't like not as known, 3 or 4 fight wins. Bring him over to MVP. That's and then have them try to go against other guys and build them. That's better than getting flameouts like Dos Santos versus Despaigne. Like we know they're not top 5, top 15 guys in MMA. We know that, right? We know that Mick Parkin is better than them, and Mick Parkin's not going to touch a title. So that's what a shot by me to Mick Parkin. But anyways, that's just basically it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe. Peace out. A-Town.